Good morning, my name is Jacob Folger. I'm an artist sculptor, and today we're going to make a fairy. And we're getting started right away, rolling a ball of polymer clay, and then we roll it into an oblong shape, kind of like that shape right there, which is for the head. And we're working in Sculpey 3 polymer clay. At the end of the video, you'll be able to look at the video description in the below the video and see a tool and supply list, the baking instructions for polymer clay for the Sculpey 3 brand, and possibly some support videos and other support information. Now I've made an indentation for the eyes with my thumbs, and now I'm going to take a small noodle of clay and add it to beef up the nose a little bit. Now I'm doing the face part of this sculpture. I'm doing it without a lot of edits in it, and the reason why is so that you won't miss anything. The remainder of the video I'll do quite a bit of editing on, but this part I'm leaving pretty raw. I'm just kind of playing with the nose here. Now, when you're sculpting, anything that you've never sculpted before, or you've sculpted very little, it's going to be harder to do, and it's going to take longer to do. And for me, this face is it's a female face for the fairy, and it is not something I sculpt all the time. So even though I can sculpt it, and I'll make quite a nice face by the time I'm done with it, it's still going to be kind of a chore for me. Here I'm making a little cut to define the mouth. This really helps a lot to do this before you put the lips on. And then I roll a little noodle of clay. You want to start off as small as you can for the lips, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself trimming them down quite a bit. So the best thing to do is start off small. I'm just showing you my sculpting tool there and what I'm using to blend in the upper lip to the mouth just below the nose. And just take your time. That's the main thing. And if you can have pictures of faces in sculpture, not photographs of live people, but of sculptures, because you're sculpting a sculpture is what you're making. So having that kind of information in front of you is really good. You can look it up online, and work in front of your computer. It's very helpful to have pictures while you're working. Here I'm just beefing up the cheeks a little bit, the chin. I'm adding, I'm taking away, I'm looking at it from many directions. That way I don't really miss anything. I'm just trying to give you some nice close-up views of it. And here I am adding the bottom lip. The face starts off looking very masculine. If you are finding yourself frustrated or impatient with yourself, just relax and you can take a break. And another thing that you can do is you can work in another part of the face as a way to take a break. So I've just a minute ago moved away from the lips, which are a hard area for me, and worked on the eyes a little bit. It all needs to be done. That's the way I look at it. If you have a face to compare it to, you can often find deficiencies. That's why it's really good to have pictures or something in front of you to look at. Faces from different angles and that sort of thing. You might find a video that you like that helps you see how the face is constructed. That's why I think it's just really important if I'm going to be teaching how to sculpt the face, that since the face is probably going to be the hardest part on this sculpture to do, to be able to show all of it. I'm going to add a little bit more clay for the chin, bring the chin out a little bit more. I'll add clay, I'll take it away. It's kind of like that. While I narrate this part of the video, I've got the little fairy sitting on my desk in front of me, and I'm going to tell you what, she's quite beautiful. So as you see here, it's kind of hard to see that, but she's really got a beautiful little face. So I'm adding cheekbones, and I'm bringing that clay down to the cheek area a little bit, filling it out. If you're new to this, you should consider practicing as frequently as you can. You know, working with clay, learning how to work it so that you can make things whatever you want to make. And the only way to do that is by practicing. Most people cannot arrive at the ability to do it without first working to get themselves to the point where they can. Some people can do that. Some people can just start off and, you know, come away with something amazing, but that's a rare thing. The main thing is, I think, probably the most important thing is do not become impatient with yourself, because it's very normal to have some difficulty doing this sort of thing. The face is going to be the hardest thing. The rest of the rest of the fairy is you know, going to be a lot easier. Making the face rounder like that seemed to really help a lot. Adding the eyes, getting the eyes in there is going to make a big difference as well. But you can see why it's important not to put huge lips on, because you still have to slim them way, way down. Now, I am working with pictures, but I'm not looking at them. In fact, that often is the case with me. I'll get pictures up and I won't look at them. I'll just do my own thing. But I do what I recommend, and if I need to look, I will. But oftentimes I don't really look at all at anything except from what my mind's eye sees. Well, somebody on my Facebook page just commented on my fairy. I put up a picture of her a few minutes ago, a little while ago. Now here I take a noodle of clay, flatten it out a little bit, and that becomes an upper eyelid. And I'm going to sculpt her with closed eyes. For one reason, it's a lot easier to do that, to just have the eyes closed. But also, I'm sculpting her with a book in her hands, and if you are looking down at something like a book, your eyes appear to be closed anyway. So, and rather than put just a slit in, you know, take a knife and cut a slit in where you want the eye to go, or closed eye. This is a little bit more defined and realistic looking, with the eyelid sculpted in like that. And if I'm doing a closed eye, that's how I prefer to do it, with the, like this here. I wonder what the comment is. I asked some people what to comment and tell me what they think of the fairy. Since I don't often do fairies, full figure fairies like this one. It really makes a huge difference to start adding detail to the face, like the eyes, forming the nose, working on the lips. It starts to change, and you can see it now that the face is looking far more feminine and believable as a female face. And that comes with time and just, working on it. It helps to smooth the face because this is alcohol, 70% rubbing alcohol, and it helps to smooth the face and take out the roughness to make it look younger and more youthful. And also you can soften the detail, like the eyes and the lips. Softening that detail will add to the beauty of the face and to the youthfulness of it. Now you can work with straight alcohol, but you can also cut it, and just a matter of preference, really. I think if the alcohol is cut with water, it's less hard on the clay, but even 70% or even 90% rubbing alcohol is probably not going to do any damage. But you definitely probably don't want to be flooding the surface with the alcohol. You just dip it into the cup of alcohol and then dab it off on a paper towel or a table or just something to get some of the excess off, and use that, and then only dip it when you need to. And when you dip it, agitate the brush in the alcohol so the alcohol cleans the brush off. Now I'm going to put a smoothing, how to smooth polymer clay in the video description below the video. So take a look there at those two videos, part 1 and part 2, and take a good look at those. You should definitely do some smoothing on this face before you start moving on to the rest of the sculpture. It's also going to get you to a point where you feel a little bit more comfortable with your creation of the face. And if you feel good about that, it's going to be a lot easier for you to sculpt the sculpture. Whenever I'm sculpting a figure like this, I always do the face first so that I can have that benefit. Additionally, once you've got the face to a point where you like it, you're working on the sculpture. You're going to be working on the sculpture for the length of the time it takes to make the sculpture. And there's a good chance that you're going to see things that you want to change in the face as you go, and you can do that, of course. You know, touch the face sometimes many times to get it to where you want it, slimming it down or whatever it takes to do that. Here, I've gotten to a point where I'm happy with it enough right now. Again, I'll be working on it as I go a little bit here and there. I'm making the neck, and I'm making the neck somewhat long because it's going to have to attach to the body. And I'm scoring the bottom of the head and the top of the neck where it's going to join the head. And then I'm using a 18 gauge galvanized steel wire. This way, I put the neck on the head like that with the wire. Alleviates the need to squish my head. I don't want to squish the head by applying pressure to it to put it on the neck. With the wire there, I don't have to worry about that. So if you've ever wondered how you spend 3 hours sculpting a face or whatever, an hour or 30 minutes or whatever it is, and then you go to put it on the body and it gets squished while you're trying to do that, use wire. Wire will help you a lot in that case. Now she still needs work, yes she does, but she's gotten to the faces to the point where I can start working with the remainder of the sculpture. Now what I'm doing is just creating a base for her to sit on. Originally, this was going to be a mushroom cap, but I was going to have her sitting up on a mushroom. And I may do that later on, but right now I'm just working on a base, having a base for her to sit on. It's always best to have a base for your sculpture to sit on and sculpt it to it. If you wanted to add that, add a mushroom base, mushroom stock to that, you could do that pretty easily. I'm just pushing the beginning of the body into the mushroom cap and blending it in. Now what I'm doing is I want her legs, I want her kind of sitting on the side in a feminine pose with her legs going down like that, and that's what I'm doing there. I'm just creating that. 2 noodles of clay side by side. And when you're doing this, again, pictures are really good to have. If you can look up sculpture, female poses, female sitting in sculpture, because you're really going to want pictures of in sculpture just as a guide to follow when you're sculpting different parts of the body. I often will tilt the head like I just did there. It adds life to the piece. I'm not trying to make her all jacked up sitting at attention. I want her to look like she's, really just relaxing there. And by doing that now, by getting her in a pose that I like now, that kind of keeps me motivated and inspired as I move along. This is really kind of the really fun part of the sculpture, is just starting to piece it together and smoothing and blending and even a little bit of carving. Carving is really a wonderful thing if you really have some kind of grasp of how that works, and using carving to create detail and depth and um, interest and that sort of thing. I'm just carving a little bit to create some definition in the leg. She has a really pleasant look on her face. It makes it a lot easier, of course, to be working on this sculpture with that look on her face. Had I waited and not sculpted the face, I think that would be a mistake for me. I've got to stay motivated and inspired just like anybody else. Here I'm adding a new of clay just below her knees, and this is the bottom of her skirt that she's wearing, her dress. Once I have that in place, I blend it into her leg. This is how you dress a sculpture. At least that's how I do it. Then I'll blend the legs together where they're separated there, and I'll blend that, and it will appear that she's wearing a dress or a skirt. This sculpting technique that I teach, I call simple shapes. Forming simple shapes to assemble and form figures, and even structures for that matter. Okay, I'm going to make the wings, so I'm starting off with two balls the same size. I'm using black clay, by the way, because the finishes I do look really good on black clay. Now I'm forming them to the shape I want. I'm making both at the same time so that I've got the same size wing. Flattening them a little bit. Now I am making them somewhat thick, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I want them to be hardy. I want them to last a long time. And if they're little wispy things, they're very delicate, they might break, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm putting them together very well. I'm going to use wire. This is 18 gauge galvanized steel wire. Now I'm going to fold the wire in half. Once I know the length I need, cut off the excess. I need 2 of those. Always hold the loose end with your hand when you cut, because otherwise it might go flying and get on the floor, and you don't want to step on that. Have anyone you know step on it. Now I'm just twisting the wire. Holding it with the pliers helps, but it's not necessary. Sometimes you can do it with your hands. I insert it into the wing. Sometimes when you push it in, it will come out the other end, and you just have to deal with that. I'll show you how I do that. I hold it with the plier and then push it in, and then I can cut off the excess. You can cover up any excess wire sticking out and just seal it up there. Blend the wings into the body. And this is the tail end of the fairy's wings. And I kind of have them flowing down around her body and the front, the sides and front. Just remember to take breaks if you need to. This is the book that she's going to be reading. I often think about my brother when I'm sculpting. He really liked to read. And I often do sculptures with like little creations reading books. Here I am storing both parts to be joined. I have another comment from my friend Pat on the mermaid. I'm saying mermaid again. Mermaid. It's a fairy. I wanted to do. I was thinking about doing a mermaid, but then I thought I've been wanting to do a fairy. I've been wanting to do a fairy for a while, since really actually my YouTube channel is mostly about fairies and fairy related sculpture and that sort of thing. So I thought, well, it'd be a good idea maybe to do a fairy first, and then if you want to do a mermaid later. I really would, if I had a choice of sculpting something, I would think I would choose a mermaid, only because of the way they flow. Their body just really flows with, coming down with the tail. Now I'm adding arms at this point now. I frequently just size them to the body as I make them. So that one arm I'm working on right there is very long, but I'm going to terminate it a lot sooner than there, but I just want to get it to where I like it. And I'm trying to figure out where to put it, and I think that's where it's going to be there. I think later on I add it to beneath the book. Now I'm just making the top of her blouse with using a color for definition, which is a noodle of clay. You cut the ends with a X-Acto knife or sharp knife, some kind of sharp knife. Adding some definition to the inside of the elbow. Starting the hand will come in next. Again, you can look at pictures of a woman's arm in sculpture. You want to try to get in sculpture as opposed to a photograph of a living person. And with the hands, take patience too. You can hide the hands if you want. I've been around for a minute, so I don't like to hide hands for me, because I did it. I hid the other hand and put it underneath the book. But as a rule, I don't like to do that because I've been around for a long time and I should know how to sculpt hands. But women's hands are tough. Unless you practice, on a regular basis, it can be kind of hard to do them. So one thing you could do is you hide the hands underneath the book. You can be creative that way if you want. I mean, it's okay. But still, I worked on this hand for, a couple hours. It just takes time. You just got to keep on going at it. And whenever you need to take a break, you can either go to another part of the sculpture where you feel comfortable and it's not so stressful for you, or you can just take a break altogether and walk away. Many years ago, I decided I was having trouble with hands. I couldn't sculpt any kind of hand back then, and that was back in the early 90s. And one day I went and bought about 50 pounds of clay, and I went to work and I made a hand that was, with the arm and the hand, it was about 4 feet tall. And then on that hand I sculpted a number of other hands holding onto the fingers, just to give me, experience with the hands. I have lots of pictures, and I just worked and worked and worked, and by the end of that exercise, I could most definitely sculpt the hand, and now I don't have a lot of trouble doing it, except for female hands I find to be difficult. Here I am taking a noodle of clay and creating a design on the wing. And then I'm going to add a little spot to go beneath it as part of it. Now I'm creating the beginning of the hair for her head. I flatten it slightly, and then for this hair I'm going to give it a twist so it's kind of curly. Then I apply it to the head and position it to where I want, blend it into the head to secure it there. As I watch her come together with that face, I'm really pleased with her face. Now I'm going back and just adding a little bit of texture to the hair to give it more definition. And here I'm adding the ends of her shoes, or slippers in this case. They're kind of basically slippers. Once I put that on, I blend it into the toes, and we have slippers. Now I want to go and with the alcohol and brush is just spend a lot of time brushing it and making it really smooth. This will get rid of fingerprints as well. And still trying to soften that hand a little bit, trying to make it look good. Okay, so now we're going to apply the finish. This is Pigments, and this is Reflex Violet. You often hear me refer to it as purple. Just brushing it on through. I'm going to put it on the base of the wings, her dress, and her slippers. And then I'm going to do some bronze work and a little bit of silver as well. I realized that I did not give her a sleeve on her arm, so I'm going to add a little new of clay to define that for her. And I'm adding some pewter now or silver to the book. And I'm putting antique bronze on her hair, her body, her face. And I'm in parts of the wing also, and the base that she's sitting on. And there she is. I do have a little bit of touch-up work to do here and there. I will definitely take care of that. But she's well on her way. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of videos along these lines. Please like the video if you like it, and comment, ask questions in the comment section. If you have any photos that you would like to share of your creations, please send them to my email address, which is on the About page of my channel and on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.